It's Wednesday. It's 9:06 in the morning. It's the 30th day of August in the year of our Lord, Steve the Cat 2023. It's about 74 degrees and sunny here at Site B. And friends, I have an announcement. I am afraid I actually watched Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. It was on Amazon for free. I was babysitting my niece. She wanted to see dragons, so I watched it with my niece. We were very disappointed there was only one dragon in the entire thing, well, 1.5 dragons, but she did like the chubby dragon. The chubby dragon rolling down the hill was kind of cute and weird and different, so yeah, I'll give him that. It was too. Now here's my review. Is quick, but first I think I finally come up with an answer for the huge controversy over the Druid and her ability to shape change into things Druid shouldn't be able to shape change, like of course Owlbeargate. It's not fair that Druid in the movie can turn into something that my Druid can't turn into. Alright, so after watching the movie, I have come to the conclusion that Doric is not a Druid. I mean, at no point in the movie do you actually see her do anything Druidy. She just shape changes a lot into, like, even including an insect, which goes against pretty much everything that a normal Druid could do. So Doric is not a Druid. I'm going to postulate that she is a fairy changeling. And there's a couple different reasons why I don't think she's a Druid or a tiefling. First, when she's talking about how her parents abandoned her, she says blah, 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 didn't want their kid to be a tiefling. Okay, fine. I know that under the current definition of tieflings, even two normal humans can have a baby who's a tiefling as long as one of them has that gene somewhere in their history. So it's a recessive gene, I guess. Great-great-great-great-grandfather did whatever, and so now and they abandoned her. Okay, so that's the first clue. Now, that's not much of a clue, all right? But it does, she possibly suggests that either they gave birth to the tiefling or the baby was switched at birth with Doric. Then you watch all her shape changing and the multiple times she shape changes, and you're like, wait, she's not doing anything Druidy. She hasn't tossed a lightning bolt. She hasn't healed anybody. She hasn't even made it a goddamn good berry or passed without trace. All she does is like fly, bird, mouse, deer, owlbear, horse, way more times than a Druid could, and into multiple different species that a Druid can't do. So my second clue that she is not a Druid, but possibly a fairy changeling, is the tail. Because the tail is only in some scenes. There's some scenes where no tail. And there's other scenes where she does have the tail. Now, that could have just been an editing mistake, or just that there's scenes where they didn't block the tail in, just because, so they're like, well, we're not going to include the graphics for the tail because she's facing the camera. But there are definitely scenes where the tail is very active and definitely scenes where the tail is MIA. So that was my second clue. It's like, okay, maybe she's not a Druid. She's obviously not a Druid. She's obviously an innate shape changer. So let's just resolve that problem, that compliment, that argument once and for all. Doric is not a Druid. She is an innate shape changer, possibly a fairy changeling, which explains why she can shape change half a dozen times in the course of a minute and a half, and why she can turn into insects and owlbears and axebeaks, all things a Druid supposedly can't change into. And in conclusion, nobody cares. I just spent 3 minutes of your time. Because it's a movie, it doesn't matter. She can turn into a frickin' column of sandwiches if that's what they wanted in the movie. So here's my review of the movie. Now we've gotten that out of the way. It was yawn. I mean, it wasn't exciting. I didn't really feel engaged in it. The beginning, it was just, most of it was stupid because they went out of the way to make, the bard just so pathetic. The sorcerer isn't a sorcerer. The bard isn't really a bard. The only character who, she's supposed to be a barbarian. Is she supposed to be a half-orc? Is she supposed to be a fighter? She doesn't really, I guess she kind of rages, but not really. She's just a very proficient warrior who wears leather armor. But I guess we're supposed to think she might be a barbarian, but I don't know. The paladin obviously kicked ass. But obviously, let's face it, the number one character in the movie is tied for 1, the poor dead guy who didn't get turned back, and 2, the Gelatinous Cube. But really, I gotta give the nod to best character in the movie to the Gelatinous Cube. If they're giving out an award for this movie for Best Actor, it's to the Gelatinous Cube. He just stole that movie. Okay, just stole the movie. So yeah, the beginning, too long, too silly, too stupid, too nonsensical. The series of ridiculous things they have to do to finally get to the actual adventure, just unnecessary waste of space. It was, it was like an hour too long. It's just kind of meh. It is not a D&D. I mean, I never felt like I was watching the D&D movie. I felt like you were trying to force D&D Easter eggs on us because you're clever. Yeah, it could have been something, but I mean, at the end, it was just kind of eh. So there's my review. I don't get it. It just, people were saying this is the best movie ever. I was like, no, this is just, this is a $100,000 B movie from the 80s. It was just too long. But I will say that again, in conclusion, Doric, not a druid. Obviously an innate shape changer. Nobody cares. Controversy resolved. Moving on.